Be reading chapter 28. But real quickly, I want to recap chapter 27, Trembling on the Trail. After realizing that Engine Joe and his partner are hiding their treasure somewhere near number two, and it says under the cross, they decide to investigate just about every number two in town. And so they're basically hot on the heels of Engine Joe and his partner. However, they're also afraid to get too close. So in chapter 28, we're going to see that they finally figure out that number two is a tavern near town somewhere, and they're going to check in room number two. Chapter 28. That night, Tom and Huck were ready for their adventure. They hung about the neighborhood of the tavern until after 9, one watching the alley at a distance and the other the tavern door. Nobody entered the alley or left it. Nobody resembling the Spaniard entered or left the tavern door. The night promised to be a fair one, so Tom went home with the understanding that if a considerable degree of darkness came on, Huck was to come and meow, whereupon he would slip out and try the keys. But the night remained clear, and Huck closed his watch and retired to bed in an empty sugar hogshead about 12. Tuesday, the boys had the same ill luck. Again, basically, they're staking out this tavern, trying to see if Injun Joe shows up. But so far, no luck. Also, Wednesday. But Thursday night promised better. Tom slipped out in good season with his aunt's old tin lantern and a large towel to blindfold it with, because obviously he didn't want people to see his light. He hid the lantern, and also he was trying to conceal it from his aunt, probably. He hid the lantern in Huck's sugar hogshead and the watch began. An hour before midnight, the tavern closed up and its lights, the only ones thereabouts, were put out. No Spaniard had been seen. Nobody had entered or left the alley. Everything was auspicious. The blackness of darkness reigned. The perfect stillness was interrupted only by occasional mutterings of distant thunder. Tom got his lantern, lit it in the hogshead, wrapped it closely in the towel, and then the two adventurers crept in the gloom toward the tavern. Huck stood sentry, and Tom felt his way into the alley. So basically, Huck is guarding while Tom investigates. Then there was a season of waiting anxiety that weighed upon Huck's spirits like a mountain. He began to wish he could see a flash from the lantern. It would frighten him, but it would at least tell him that Tom was alive yet. It seemed hours since Tom had disappeared in there. Surely he must have fainted. Maybe he was dead. Maybe his heart had burst under terror and excitement. In his uneasiness, Huck found himself drawing closer and closer to the alley, fearing all sorts of dreadful things and momentarily expecting some catastrophe to happen that would take away his breath. There was not much to take away, though, for he seemed only able to inhale it by thimblefuls, and his heart would soon wear itself out the way it was beating. Clearly, Huck is extremely nervous. Suddenly, there was a flash of light, and Tom came tearing by him. "Run!" said he. "Run for your life!" Oh, he needn't have repeated it. Once was enough. Huck was making 30 or 40 miles an hour before the repetition was uttered. The boys never stopped till they reached the shed of a deserted slaughterhouse at the lower end of the village. Just as they got within its shelter, the storm burst and the rain poured down. As soon as Tom got his breath, he said, "Huck, it was awful. I tried two of the keys just as soft as I could, but they seemed to make such a power of racket that I couldn't hardly get my breath, I was so scared. They wouldn't turn in the lock either. Well, without noticing what I was doing, I took hold of the knob and open comes the door. It weren't even locked. I hopped in and shook off the towel and, oh, great Caesar's ghost!" "What? What'd you see, Tom?" "Huck, I almost stepped onto Injun Joe's hand." "No." "Yes. He was lying there, sound asleep on the floor, with his old patch on his eye and his arms spread out." "Oh, Lordy, what did you do? Did he wake up?" "No, never budged. Drunk, I reckon. I just grabbed that towel and started." "Oh, I'd never thought of the towel, I bet." "Well, I would. My aunt would make me mighty sick if I lost it." "Say, Tom, did you see that box?" "Huck, I didn't wait to look around, I didn't see the box. I didn't see the cross. I didn't see anything but a bottle and a tin cup on the floor by Injun Joe. Yes, I saw two barrels and lots more bottles in the room. Don't you see now what's the matter with that haunted room? No, how? Why, it's haunted with whiskey. Maybe all the temperance taverns have got a haunted room, eh, Huck? Okay, let me explain what you mean by the temperance tavern. The word temperance basically just is a word referring to not drinking alcohol. So a temperance tavern is a kind of bar or restaurant that only serves non-alcoholic drinks. But in this particular room, Tom almost stumbles onto Injun Joe and finds that he is pretty much passed out on the floor with tons of whiskey bottles around him, okay, or alcohol bottles. So this quote unquote temperance tavern is not quite as squeaky clean as they claim to be. So he says, Huck, if this temperance tavern has a room full of whiskey, maybe every tavern has a room full of whiskey. That's why it's, quote unquote, haunted. Well, I reckon maybe that's so. Who'd have thought of such a thing? But say, Tom, now's a mighty good time to get that box if Injun Joe's drunk. Oh, it is that. You try it. Huck shuddered. Well, no, I reckon not. And I reckon not, Huck. Only one bottle alongside of Injun Joe ain't enough. If there'd have been three, then he'd be drunk enough not do it. I don't know if I believe Tom on that one. I think he's talking a big game, but he's really too scared no matter what. There was a long pause for reflection, and then Tom said, Looky here, Huck. Let's not try that thing any more till we know Joe's not in there. It's too scary. Now, if we watch every night, we'll be dead sure to see him go out sometime or other, and then we'll snatch that box quicker than lightning. Well, I'm agreed. I'll watch the whole night long, and I'll do it every night, too, if you'll do the other part of the job. So Huck says, Listen, I'll stay up all night and watch that door as long as you want to, but I'm not going to be the one going in that room. I'm too scared. So you do that part, and I'll do the keep watch part. So Tom says, All right, I will. And all you got to do is trot up Hooper Street a block and meow. If I'm asleep, you throw some gravel at the window, and that'll fetch me. Agreed and good as wheat. Now, Huck, the storm's over and I'll go home. It'll begin to be daylight in a couple of hours. You go back and watch that long, will you? I said I would, Tom, and I will. I'll haunt that tavern every night for a year. I'll sleep all day and stand watch all night. All right, that's all right. Now, where are you going to sleep? In Ben Rogers' hayloft. He lets me, and so does his pap's nigger man, Uncle Jake. I tote water for Uncle Jake whenever he wants me to, and anytime I ask him, he gives me a little something to eat if he can spare it. That's a mighty good slave, Tom. He likes me because I don't ever ask if I was above him. Sometimes I've sat right down and eat with him, but you needn't tell anybody that. A body's got to do things when he's awful hungry he wouldn't want to do as a steady thing. Well, if I don't want you in the daytime, I'll let you sleep. I won't come bothering around. Anytime you see something's up in the night, just skip right around and meow. So the plan is Huck is going to keep watching the tavern and look for Injun Joe. And once he sees Injun Joe either go in or out, and he knows that, or once he sees where Injun Joe is and they can confirm he's not in that room, then they'll go in and look for the treasure. So that's where we are now. And tomorrow we'll go on to 29.